Please welcome Paige Muggeridge. Thank you, Paige.
A constant beat, a persistent pounding. This was the sound dominating the skies over a war-torn country. The swarm of giant metal insects filling the skies over dense jungle, paddy fields, remote villages and bustling cities were the lifeblood of the forces battling the fear of communism, a fear generated by the Cold War. These flying beasts were witnesses to death, destruction, atrocities committed against the innocent, and massacres on a scale which today seem unbelievable. The soldiers said goodbye to their loved ones and headed off to a war which was controversial, a war which instigated a turning point in the evolution of New Zealand's post-war foreign and security policies. But for the soldiers themselves, serving their country was their priority. Vietnam was seen as a crucial point on the front line against communist expansion in Asia. New Zealand, being part of ANZUS, succumbed to the pressure of the United States to send troops to Vietnam. In July 1965, the 161 Battery Royal New Zealand Artillery arrived in Saigon, and during its 6 years in the combat zone was involved in 17 major operations. In 1967, New Zealand's commitment to the conflict deepened with the deployment of Victor Company, followed by Whiskey Company later that year. The soldiers were exposed to danger on a regular basis, patrolling through Viet Cong-occupied territory, battling close-contact firefights and infiltrating the Viet Cong underground network system. Hank Emery, private, Victor One Company, described a typical day in an interview conducted during 2009. Long periods of bloody boredom, mental bloody concentration, interrupted with a few short seconds of bloody stark terror, wondering if you were going to get out of it. Entering the Viet Cong's lair was an act of infinite courage, and the men involved became known as tunnel rats. Imagine, if you can, how it feels to crawl headfirst down a hole that is scarcely wide enough for your shoulders. After a couple of meters of slipping and wriggling straight down, the narrow tunnel takes a U-turn back towards the surface, then twists again before heading off horizontally, further than you can see with the light from the battery-powered lamp attached to your cap. Because the tunnel has recently been filled with smoke and tear gas, you are wearing a gas mask. The eyepieces steam up, and the sound of your own breathing competes with the thump of your heart. This tunnel has been dug for the slightly built Vietnamese. Every inch forward has to be checked for booby traps, so you carry a bayonet in one hand. Every corner could conceal an enemy soldier who can retreat no further, so you carry a pistol in the other. There is not enough room to turn around. Backing out is near impossible. And the enemy knows you are there. Your miner's light makes a perfect target. You switch off the light. The silence is ominous, except for the pounding of your heart that thunders through your entire body. The darkness engulfs you as it becomes harder to catch your breath. Reason and sense evaporate as the darkness claims you. That's how it felt to be a tunnel rat. Throughout this campaign, in which 3,500 New Zealanders served, 187 were wounded and 37 lost their lives. Seeing their comrades die was the hardest part of their tour of duty, and the vivid memories have stayed with them all their lives. Archie Moore, gunner of 161 Battery, recalls in an interview also conducted last year. The part that stays in my mind is these guys' boots. I could never quite get that out of my mind, is that you could never seem to cover their boots. Today, it is incomprehensible that protesters were allowed to torment these men the way they did. Upon their return, the men of 161 Battery paraded down Auckland's Queen Street, led by Major John Masters MC, commander of the battery, and instead of being lauded for their efforts, were confronted by blood-covered university students. Major Masters was summoned to appear in court. The protesters claimed he still had the blood of millions of innocent victims on his hands. He forever carries the bitter memories of being hissed at and of accusations he was a baby killer. The men were treated like scum, and the system to which they had given so much had let them down. As novelist Dean Brellis once said, "Those who do not battle for their country do not know with what ease they accept their citizenship." The constant pounding which filled the skies 40 years ago is now nothing but a distant memory for the men who served so bravely, men who fought for democracy in a conflict which bred such controversy and disillusionment for those who served. The New Zealand government fundamentally failed to honour and deliver the respect these men deserved. In fact, they and the New Zealand Army effectively turned their backs on them. Not until Queen's birthday weekend 2008, when an official welcome home ceremony, Tribute 08, was held, had there been an attempt to correct the injustices of the past. Like their cousins in the natural world, the giant metal insects served their purpose and have long since disappeared. For most of us, the Vietnam War is nothing but a piece of history that has served to inspire filmmakers and authors. But for the men who served, it is an anguished memory with them every day. As the last helicopter lifted out of Saigon on 30th of April 1975, a nation fell and a point in time was marked. The war was over. But today, for many, the memories of the pain and horrors endured and witnessed are still very much alive.